Hello, YouTube. Is happy to see you all on this blessed Juneteenth day. Now you might be wondering, what is Juneteenth? How did it come to be? Where did it all started? Started? Well, I'm about to tell you. As some of you don't know, Juneteenth is one of the oldest known celebrations honoring the end and abolishment of slavery. Now, of course, it wasn't always called Juneteenth. It was called, in some parts or some countries and cities and states, Black Independence Day or Emancipation Day or Jubilee Day. It was on January 1st, 1863, that African Americans, enslaved and free, were waiting for the Emancipation Proclamation. Basically, it was an order and declaration freeing all enslaved people in the Confederate Southern rebellious slave states. Union soldiers would march on the plantation in the southern states, emancipating, freeing slaves in those states. Terribly sorry if y'all hear that. I'm outside, so yeah, just gotta deal with it. Now, of course, we know not all slaves were immediately free once this happened. So, therefore, the Emancipation Proclamation would need to have a surplus, a bonus pack, or I guess an addition or a bonus package. This would be the 13th Amendment, and the 13th Amendment would officially end slavery and servitude in the U.S. Now that we've known this, now that's the sum. Now that's only just parts of it. Now, what is Juneteenth though? Well, Juneteenth origins are disputed. Its origins are disputed, and some of the history is, of course, argued, and it's a heated debate. But I will read some of my information notes that I took down. Be free to argue and correct me if I'm wrong. So, in the states of the West, basically in the Western Front Confederate states, which was still disputing the legality of slavery, those slaves would not be free until 1865. So we already have a battle on our hands, along with the Civil War. Now you might say, well, why didn't Texas just free the slaves when the Emancipation Proclamation? That's because not all states would abide by the Emancipation Proclamation, or some who did later join the Union, or who would succeed from the Union, some were seen as insignificant or unimportant or not a big deal or big threat. Now, it was on June 19, 1865 of that year that we have Union General Gordon Granger along with thousands of federal troops marching into Galveston, Texas to announce the end of the Civil War. And that's also another reason. Not all states or not all cities South and Northern knew the end of the Civil War, or where that was ended. Now, approximately or more than 250,000 enslaved Black people were freed by executive decree of those Union soldiers. Now, here are some unknown facts about it, and yeah, it goes a little bit into history as well. Sorry, there was a fly on my camera. Succession states didn't always adhere to the Emancipation Proclamation, like I've said. Now, the primary objective of the Emancipation Proclamation, as some might argue it to be, was to preserve the Union, not at first to free the slaves, but it would slowly become that, because not only we preserve the Union, but not only would they preserve the Union, but in freeing enslaved people would help them win the battle in the Civil War. So some saw it as 50-50, basically. Now we already know slavery was used as a political motive during the Civil War, as well as a push for the 13th Amendment. And Black soldiers in the Union who enlisted only performed lackluster jobs due to these assumptions and probability of lack of skills in combat. Now, the official end of the Civil War is August Now, it's a bit debatable. Some say it's on August the 19th, others say it's on August 20th, 1865, or 1866. Now, of course, some might not know that some states still raged on, that were involved in the Civil War still raged on, even after the Confederate states surrender. But you might, like I said previously, why wasn't Texas automatically free? Well, that's because Texas was not closely monitored. So slave owners who went to Texas with their slaves were seen as unimportant or insignificant, of course, because of their negligibility, or they were negligible with the Union. Sorry if I'm stumbling on words. Sorry. After the Emancipation Proclamation was delivered and ordered, slaves, some slaves escaped behind Union lines and fought for the Union themselves. Some who were officially told by certain slave owners and masters that they were free and they were filled with happiness and relieved and blessed. Hallelujah. Well, for some others, that was not the case. Some others continued to work because their owners withheld announcements and withheld the official Emancipation Proclamation or small notes of it, or basically kept the news, or basically just kept the news on the DL because they didn't want them to be free. I'll just put it that way. Or to cut wage and basically cut their wages. Now, that was the last straw for some enslaved people. Some escaped. Some great names we know as Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman. Some we even know to be born in the northern free states. They even pushed for the 13th Amendment and supported the Emancipation Proclamation, as well as some escaped slaves actually ended up being abolitionists for or slavery, and because they wanted to end and to escape that reality, to escape that servitude. Some were successful in their run attempts. Some were killed and caught, brought back to the plantation. Now some might not know, many were hesitant or fearful of escape due to the fact that some did not know where to go. Some would get lost on the journey, or some would get lost. Well, not lost, but some would end up dying on their way to reach the freedom states. Now, in the 1870s, now after this, we already know the Emancipation Proclamation, 13th Amendment, yada, yada, yada. Now, after the 13th Amendment, after emancipation, came this. In the 1870s, a group of former slaves pooled together $800 to purchase 10 acres of land and create Emancipation Park. This was to host celebrations in Houston. Bless you, by the way. To host celebrations in Houston, Texas. Then in 1980, Emancipation Day became a legal holiday. Now, you might say, well, you just read us a bunch of statements and facts. It's true, I did. I did write that down and I did read it. Now it might seem a little bit organized and might be now to some it might be like, well, some statements are, not in connection or whatever. Well, I told you guys I was just gonna read some facts and read a little history. Now basically the whole summary is this. Juneteenth was born. The Juneteenth celebration and holiday was born in a southern state of Texas, a southern state who was seen as unimportant and insignificant during the Civil War and afterwards. A state that refused to free their slaves, to free the enslaved people, and refused to let them be free. So, some took it upon themselves
to run or wait for Union forces to liberate them. Some of those Union forces, of course, being black African American soldiers. Now, of course, some might not know this, but the African American soldiers during their time in the Union were even discriminated in the northern states. And fighting for the Union, they were even discriminated against. Some believe they couldn't fight at all. Some believe that they would be bloodthirsty. Some were even discriminated against in pay. They get dollars cut off their union. They get dollars in tax cut, or having to pay more because in their uniforms, and heck, could be some were not even given Union soldier jobs at first. They were just given they were still manual laborers. So basically, the whole summarization is this: Juneteenth all started as we. Juneteenth, basically, in summation, was this: it came to be known and was born in a Texas southern state because some were free and some were not. Those who weren't fought, escaped, some died for their freedom. Now, like I said, be free to correct me. Drop it down in the comment. Have a blessed day. Like I said, comment, share this video even, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Happy Juneteenth Day and peace.